Talking Eagles and Cowboys, Doug Peterson said Carson Wentz is fine, but this is a banged-up Eagles team, top to bottom, so riddled with injuries. Peterson canceled padded practice yesterday, opting instead for a walkthrough. Eagles are trying to keep up with the Cowboys, who have not only started the year 2-0, but Fox Bet now has Dallas as the favorites over Philly to win the NFC East. Bart, who's the better team right now, Cowboys or Eagles?
I mean, right now you have to go with the Cowboys because they're the more complete team. They're a healthier team. You know, Jason Peters looked like he swallowed a little baby, man. I'm used to seeing him play big, and I love me some Jason Peters, but he looks like he's just finally starting to slow down just a tad. And I think
they might have anticipated that when they traded up to go get Andre Dillard in the first round, despite having Lane Johnson, their other tackle, locked up to a big contract.
You can get old fast in this league, and it's amazing what 6 months can do to you. But, you know, Philadelphia, and what I know about Philadelphia is they'll make the necessary moves to improve. You know, they're the master of the cap. You know, this whole reports that maybe Jalen Ramsey could be going there. That can be a really upgrade for them, which they can get some help on the back end, and I think that they can close the gap. But right now you have to say with Dak playing and looking like he's taking the next step with the weapons that they have, and, you know, I love the fact when you look at the shifts and motions, how they're really giving him the ability to have the answers to the test, and he's productive right now. So right now I have to go with the Cowboys, but I think the Eagles will close the gap later in the season.
I think obviously right now, if you were to do like what Colin does, like the herd hierarchy, if you do a power rankings, Dallas has to be.
Oh my goodness, here he comes.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing
Jenna,
it.
he plants a little seed.
No.
Next thing you know,
we've got a Knicks list coming up in about 20 minutes.
After begging a few days ago, just like today.
No. Just reminding the producers it had been a while. Not the point. The point I'm making is, if any NFL power rankings right now, well, across the spectrum, would have the Cowboys ahead of the Eagles. And they've earned that.
Yeah.
Just like right now, if you were doing MVP rankings, Lamar's got to be super high, no matter if he was off the board before the season. They've earned that. But this question, to me, is more about, you mentioned Fox Bet has the Cowboys as the favorite for how this will end at the end of the season. I still have more faith in Philadelphia. As great as Dak's been, I have more faith in Philadelphia's quarterback, his ability. Now, they got to protect him, and he has been getting lit up. And the Cowboys' Dak has been totally clean. I have more faith in Philadelphia's coaching staff from head coach on down, even though Kellen Moore seems to have done an excellent job. And I have more faith that what the Eagles are dealing with a rash of injuries right now. There might be 3 teams in the league all year that go through the end of the season and never deal with a rash of injuries. I have more faith in the Eagles' ability to deal well with the rash of injuries than the Cowboys will when the inevitability hits and they're down a few starters. Now, maybe they'll be in the 10% of teams that, hey, this year we just were incredibly healthy. I think in football, unlike basketball or baseball, obviously, you almost have to bake in, how do you deal with the inevitability of the injury? So for all those reasons, I still think the Eagles should be the favorites. If I were to make that bet, I would bet on Philly, but it's very close. Going into the year, Chris, I didn't think it was close. I thought Philly was en route to a bye and Dallas was going to miss the playoffs. I obviously no longer think that.
Yeah, well, I think this can go back and forth a number of times before we get to the end of the season. Like, who's going to be better at the end of the season? It's irrelevant. So any of my answers won't have anything to do with that. We don't know who's going to be injured. We don't know how the schedule is going to go, but I know there's a decided advantage in this. The Dallas Cowboys, anytime they've had Ezekiel Elliott, have they ever lost to the Philadelphia Eagles?
No, they're 4-0.
No. So even if we get to the end of the season and they got the same record, based on that fact, if Dak continues on the trajectory that he's on, throwing the ball, to me, I give the Dallas Cowboys an edge. I believe that they are a younger football team. I believe that the momentum that they've been able to create with Zeke being out, well-rested, coming back, and not getting him banged up in those first couple games compared to where Philadelphia is. As a Philadelphia fan, you're still always concerned about every time Carson Wentz gets hit. In Dallas, you don't have that concern. Dallas has more of an identity offensively right now than Philadelphia. I'm not going to overreact, but right now, you have to give a slight edge, Jenna, to the Dallas Cowboys.
Bart, a couple weeks ago, you came on and talked about your skepticism about Dak Prescott. You weren't sure he deserved to be paid this season. You weren't sure who we were going to see. Your mind hasn't been changed, what you've seen in the first 2 weeks?
It hasn't. I want to see when the defenses adjust to what they're seeing, because they haven't seen this version of the Cowboys offense. So I happens is somebody's going to break them down and to see what they're doing, and then they're going to make him have to make an adjustment. I want to see Dak Prescott make the adjustment. I'm still not spending $40 million on Dak Prescott because I still...
Forget about the price tag.
Yeah, well...
But you have to notice his fundamentals have improved.
Yes, right.
His anticipation has improved. He's got a little more RPMs on his ball. And they're attacking the whole field, throwing the ball down the field. You would have to agree with all those. No, Forget about the price tag.
No, absolutely. I thought Dallas missed the opportunity to lock this division up. I think where you look at the weakness of this Dallas defense, I think it's at the safety position. I think you go all in and you make the trade for Mika Fitzpatrick, and I think it would have been game over. You take Heath out, now you get an elite guy that can come in the slot, give you some more impact plays at the back end. And if you're going to go all in, because you still have him under control. Mika Fitzpatrick only would have cost about $1 million on the cap, and you could have fit that in, and he's a great replacement if you lose a guy like Byron Jones, right? So I feel like they missed the opportunity to really step in, because we've seen this happen with Philadelphia. Philadelphia's trying to make that play. Hey, it's a player like Jalen Ramsey out there. This is our window. Let's go get him. And I thought that, they could have took advantage and really locked this division up.
But I want to circle back again, price notwithstanding. Before the year, you were of the belief that flip Dak and Teddy Bridgewater and the Cowboys are the same team. Has Dak done enough? I know it's only 2 weeks, but it has been 2 exceptional weeks. Has Dak done enough in those 2 weeks to make you adjust your opinion on that?
Slightly. Slightly, he showed that he can take advantage of the new weapons he has and the new offense. He's really buying in. He's really fundamentally sound. He's starting to run the ball a little bit more and be able to understand when he needs to lean on his teammates and when he needs to lean on himself. Now, into regards to Teddy Bridgewater, who had a horrible game, I think that this week's going to be a lot better because he's going in knowing that he's going to be the starter, and I think you'll see a better version of Teddy Bridgewater this week. One
note for the Cowboys, and where they've been exceptional this year after being miserable last year. People will think it's deep down the field passing. That's been improved, but that hasn't been the big change. The big change is last year they were awful at turning 7 into 3. They got in the red zone and they kicked field goals. They got within the 10-yard line. They kicked field goals. This year they've been so much better on cashing in on those red zone opportunities.
You know why?
That adjustment alone will tell me why.
Jason Witten.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jason Witten does have 2 of them. He does have 2 of those red zone touchdowns.
Yeah. Welcome back, baby. Who needs a hairpiece?
That's where they've been great.
Dallas Cowboys, one of 4 teams to start the year with consecutive double-digit wins. So, good point on there. Bart, we'll see you a little bit later in the show. Coming up, has Kirk Cousins been a disappointment with the Vikings? Next on First Things First.
I really didn't know who